Are we ready, Yagami-san? Let's start with our visit to Mamiya-san, if that sounds reasonable to you.
Yeah, let's start there.
So, the victim's story is completely in line with her court testimony, huh?
That's correct. There wasn't anything new to pick up.
Unfortunately.
In which case, should we look into the murder video instead? Like, figure out how they made it?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Whether that tape's fake or real, someone had to put it online, right? Do we have any theories on who that might be?
Well, the footage showed enough of the surroundings to make the crime scene clear. As somebody who's been there, I can confirm that the blood splotches match what you see in the footage. Which means... the murderer's accomplices have to be the ones who posted it for him.
Yeah, I can't see it any other way.
I also agree with Yagami-san.
But in that case, what would their motive be?
Maybe they wanted to make a mockery of the police, or even the whole system.
Huh?
We know Ihara got himself convicted for groping, so he'd have an alibi for Mikoshiba's killing. But then, his conspirators turned it around by uploading the murder video online. Almost as if to say, look how he got away with it.
I see. Yeah, that does make it sound like he's taunting them.
That's well and good, but I'd like to shift gears. Let's talk about the actual fabrication of the video. How does one go about that?
Well, for example, the true culprit would be taped murdering Mikoshiba. Then Ihara's face would be copied and blended onto the killers. That's how they'd approach it in a Hollywood movie.
But then, wouldn't you be able to see traces of it being faked?
Tsukumo-san reported that he's found nothing of the sort in his analysis.
We've been down this road before. If we take the stance that the footage is fabricated, we have absolutely nothing to work with.
Then let's tackle this from the stance that the video's actually real. If that's the case, there has to be a flaw in the groping issue. I think we've collected enough evidence to find it too.
So, what does this do for us?
Once Ihara entered the Ikebukuro gates at 7:43 a.m. and stepped onto the platform, he was continuously monitored on camera. But if he really killed Mikoshiba at 7:30 like we saw, there's no way he could have reached Ikebukuro in time. That would mean the person in the footage isn't Ihara, but an impersonator.
So that's not really him?
Yeah. He's got the sunglasses and hat to help sell the disguise.
Wait, if that's the case, after murdering Mikoshiba, wouldn't Ihara have to swap places with the stand-in sometime before being detained? But we didn't see any opportunity for that. Multiple cameras saw Ihara move right up to Mamiya-san as they board the train in Ikebukuro. And the onboard camera recorded them for the entire commute. Not only was the act caught on tape, but his failed escape from the scene was recorded as well. Ultimately, Ihara was pinned down before leaving Mamiya-san's sight, so she had an eye on him the whole time.
Right. So the current belief is that Ihara was caught on camera the entire time he was at the station.
But wait, that's not entirely accurate, is it?
Huh?
Remember how we mocked up a diagram of the Shinjuku station platform?
Yeah. Oh, wait! That's it! You could be onto something. There's a point where Ihara wasn't on camera at all.
What is this point you speak of?
Let's all go over the diagram so that everything will be clear. Here's what I want you to see.
What the? suspicious.
It's very brief, but there's a moment where Ihara and Mamiya-san can't be seen by the security cameras. The dotted lines on the arrow represent the camera's blind spot.
It does appear so. So you're saying this is where the groper, the fake Ihara, traded places with the real one?
Can't say it's impossible, right?
Right. Except if that actually happened, Mamiya-san would have been right behind them at the time. Could the two really swap places without her noticing?
In a crowd like that, I think it's feasible.
If that really was Ihara's plan, then I'd say he was being careless.
Careless? How?
Well, on the day of the incident, the station was packed for morning rush hour. That means there was no solid guarantee the assailant could make the switch. He could have been nailed by any random passerby before reaching the blind spot.
Good point. Not only that, if Mamiya-san had called for help while the train was still moving, then the first Ihara would have been caught before even reaching the platform.
Oh, I mean, yeah! Called it.
Think about it, Yagami-san. Why would Ihara's accomplices meticulously plan out every last detail of this alibi, only to leave such a crucial component to chance, as Hoshino-kun pointed out?
Oh, just doing my job.
True. Good work, Hoshino-kun. In fact, I think that may back up my own take on it.
Yeah?
What if everything, including the appearance of leaving the plan to chance, was part of the plan?
Can you expound on that?
I'm saying I agree that such an airtight alibi wouldn't have allowed for contingencies. And that takes the question to another level. Just how far did they line up the pieces in advance to make the swap work?
Are you saying there's more to it than we discussed? What did we miss?
I know this won't go over well, but what if Mamiya was colluding with Ihara all along?
Huh?
Bear with me. Let's say Mamiya was in on this, and knew about the imposter in advance. If that's the case, the swap could happen right in front of her and no one but the three of them would know.
You're saying the victim of a groping conspired with her assailant beforehand? That's ridiculous!
Let me just say, I'm only trying to work out how a swap like that would be guaranteed to work. Now, if Ihara and his stand-in both know that Mamiya will pretend not to have seen them, they can trade places in the blind spot with impunity. Conversely, if Mamiya wasn't in on the plan, the idea of a swap would never work. We can say with certainty that she would have seen the swap, so she could have even called attention to the real Ihara the moment he stepped in. That way, the people around her would be focused on chasing the correct assailant. The rest is as we know it. They caught Ihara and detained him until the police showed up.
Hold that thought. If your theory is accurate, what about Ihara's trace evidence? Remember that fibers of the victim's underwear were detected on his hand.
Well, that can also be explained by Mamiya being in on the plan. For example, while the stand-in was showing himself at the security cameras, Mamiya could have easily provided Ihara access to a pair of underwear at the same time. Maybe the stand-in loitered around for so long because he was letting everyone else get themselves in place.
It's not impossible.
We can work out the other details later, but the point is, Ihara's murder alibi is shot if Mamiya was involved. In summary, it's possible Ihara disgraced himself to secure an unshakable alibi for Mikoshiba's murder.
I'll concede that it's an avenue worth pursuing.
And when it comes to the prosecution, they can't just admit they got the first case so wrong. Plus, they can't question Ihara about Mikoshiba's murder. In fact, their only option is to claim the tape was faked.
So he managed to make a farce out of the system after all.
Well, his court case for his son's bullying did get more or less thrown out, didn't it? The school, the investigative committee, and the court all agreed there wasn't enough evidence to convict anyone. No surprise for me that the guy held a grudge against the system for so long.
Hold on. Before we all decide on this,
What's up?
the obvious question to me is why would Mamiya be party to such a crime? She appears more than financially stable, and she's even raising a child. So why would she do something so enormously risky as helping establish a murder alibi?
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet. But maybe she was promised something that far exceeds the risk. Or maybe Ihara has some kind of dirt on her even?
Enough to make her help with a murder? What sort of secret would be big enough to force someone into that corner?
What info do we have on Mamiya anyway? Maybe we can spot a connection to Ihara through her profile.
I'll pull her information. Just a second.
Oh, I just thought of something else those two would have guaranteed by working together.
What's that?
If Ihara wanted to use this crime as a murder alibi, he needed it to blow up into the public eye. But if he had chosen a victim who stayed silent, then nothing would have come of it. A solid plan would need to eliminate that variable, which means Mamiya being an accomplice was crucial to Ihara's success.
That's true.
Looks like Ihara pulled one over on the prosecution then. Had his accomplices right where he wanted them, even his victim. Once we learn how he's connected to Mamiya, we can root out the rest of his team.
Let's see. According to her file, her maiden name is Yui Suzuki. 30 years old, so that's consistent. Originally from Ota, Tokyo. Attended a private high school called Kurakawa Academy. Later graduated from Toto University.
Huh.
Met her husband on the job, apparently. Her husband, Taichi Mamiya, is an industrial designer at Techno Zeta Inc. 6 years ago, she gave birth to their only son, Sota-kun, who's now in first grade.
Hold on. You said she went to Kurakawa Academy? I heard that name in Ijincho. If I recall correctly... When I went to scope out the murder scene, there were these 3 guys watching the detectives and me. They told us they were just checking things out, but they mentioned they're Kurakawa grads too.
You have any ID on you?
Will my license work?
Kake-san, age 30.
Akaike-san, age 30. Mommy is 30 as well.
What's that got to do with anything? Aren't we trying to find a connection between Mamiya and Ihara?
I found the Kurokawa Academy website. Looks like they're pretty prestigious. It's in Tokyo, specifically in Ota. Pretty close to where Mamiya lived. Oh,
What?
the girls there get such cute uniforms.
You little... You want to start all over from the bar exam?
Wait, I've seen that uniform before too, actually.
Where?
On an old picture of a teacher at Seiryo High, Sawa-sensei. Ihara's son confided in her. Is she actually a Kurokawa grad too? I don't know Sawa-sensei's exact age, but she could well be 30. Maybe all of them are even classmates.
Could this mean they're actually linked? The victim and her up-to-now unrelated assailant?
It's a tenuous link at best. Could fall apart any time. But no true detective alive would pass it up.
A previously unseen link is established between the groper and the victim. Charting out their relationship is akin to tracing a spider's web. But with each false thread ruled out, only the improbable truth remains. Ihara orchestrated the groping as a diversion, and by tarnishing his name, he secures both an alibi and his ultimate revenge.
Hiro Mikoshiba's murder was sparked by the bullying of Toshiro Ihara, who committed suicide 4 years ago. The graphic video that hit the net showed the world how Toshiro's father, Akihiro Ihara, had brutally avenged his son. We also know the father had accomplices. On October 7th at 6:30 a.m., they forced Mikoshiba into a vehicle, took him to an abandoned building, and gravely injured him. Then, around 7:30 a.m., the time frame when Ihara killed Mikoshiba, the other conspirators were probably nearby, even though they weren't on camera.
At the same time, 30 kilometers away at Ikebukuro Station, a man who looks like Ihara is caught on camera. We'll call that guy the stand-in. The stand-in made sure he was in front of the cameras for more than an hour before boarding the 9:06 a.m. train, the same one Yui Mamiya was on. After committing sexual battery on that train, he meets the real Ihara in the camera's blind spot, and they change places. That's how he established a false alibi for Mikoshiba's murder. And to achieve this, the victim, Yui Mamiya, had to have been in on it from the start.
Sure are a lot of people getting their hands dirty for Ihara. Mamiya, Ihara's stand-in on the train, the guys who kidnapped Mikoshiba. How did some troubled cop manage to recruit so many allies?
Well, one person that comes to mind who might be the key to all this is Yoko Sawa. She's a teacher at Seiryo High. She was the only adult Toshiro-kun ever told about the bullying, and she supervised Mikoshiba as a teacher before he disappeared. On top of that, she's a Kurokawa Academy graduate, same as Mamiya. Those trespassers at the murder scene were also from Kurokawa. Since they're all about the same age, it's possible they were all classmates.
So you're saying these classmates are also Ihara's murder accomplices?
If we consider Yoko Sawa the central link, that's very possible. We do know that as a teacher, she felt deep remorse for Toshiro-kun's suicide. Maybe she recruited her old classmates to help Ihara take his revenge.
Yeah, best not to rule that out. Though I'm hoping that's not the case.
Why's that?
It's just, she's a really good teacher. She's passionate, responsible. She's always putting the students first. I know she regrets the past, that a student died on her watch. And now another of her students, Mikushiba, is found murdered. So if it turns out she's involved in that, I doubt I'll be able to trust my own judge of character ever again.
Yagami.
I'm going back to Ijincho tomorrow. The plan is to bring up Mamiya's name to Sawa-sensei and see how she reacts. Until then, let's not jump to conclusions about her involvement.
All right.
Can I chime in real quick? I was looking into Kurakawa Academy and I stumbled across something that may be relevant.
What's that?
Well, it happened 13 years ago, but there was an attempted suicide. A third year jumped off the school's roof after being thoroughly humiliated.
Actually, Sawa-sensei mentioned that. She said it was a boy in her class.
Right, that's gotta be the same case then. The student's name was Mitsuru Kusamoto. He's 30 now, but still in a coma.
Huh, and all that info's on the net?
It wouldn't be normally, but his mother happens to be Vice Minister of the Ministry of Health. Ever heard the name Reiko Kusamoto?
Not once.
I have. It was on the news. They were talking about her and her son.
Well, do you remember the uproar in the health ministry when Vice Minister Ichinose got arrested? Apparently, his successor couldn't contain the resulting chaos, which is when Kusamoto-san got tapped to lead. They couldn't afford another criminal scandal, so her promotion was out of the blue. She was a safe choice, a veteran with tenure and experience. Not to mention, her son's tragedy made people see her as a more sympathetic figure. Very popular. She's kind of a new generation heroine, so to speak.
Huh.
Is any of that relevant to the case at hand, though?
Who knows? But Reiko Kusamoto and Ihara both have children who were bullying victims. I don't think that's a connection we can afford to overlook, if you ask me.
Okay, so Kusamoto's son. What exactly happened to him?
Let's see. He was bullied by a fellow third year at his school, Shinya Kawai. The records say he harassed Mitsuru-kun every day, in and out of school. Well, one time he even stuffed dirty rags in his mouth.
That's so cruel.
Yeah, and the teacher was a real piece of work. Apparently he knew, but he just smirked and said, "Don't overdo it."
Oh, I remember now. The media pounced on that one hard.
If they were classmates, then both Sawa-sensei and Mamiya would know about this.
And maybe because they couldn't save Mitsuru-kun, their guilt left them open to Ihara's persuasion.
But to prove that, we'll have to hear from them directly. I'll talk to Sawa-sensei first thing tomorrow.
That'd be helpful. In the meantime, I'll be working on Ihara's appeal. It's clear they missed something important in the trial, since Ihara is apparently innocent of sexual battery. Being that he was out committing murder at the time.
What started as a simple harassment case sure has blown up big.
Wait a minute, what?
Yo, you took your sweet time, but I got the gist of it. You're going to Ijincho, right? To meet with Sawa-sensei?
Kaito-san, you do realize that only I can meet her. You can't get into the school.
I know, but if you end up taking it off campus, can you at least call me this time?
Don't you understand the situation? Sawa-sensei might be tied to murder.
You sure you understand it? Come on, she would never do that.
That a fact?
So happens I'm a great judge of character. Especially when it comes to women.
Ah, sometimes I forget who I'm talking to. And stay down.
Well, first stop, it's gotta be Chinatown. Can't face Tsukumo on an empty stomach.
Never a dull day for you, huh, Kaito-san?
It's the selection, man. I've already worked out the math. I figure if I hit 4 or 5 places a day...
What? What's up?
Check that out. It's Akutsu.
Kamurocho thugs are looking pretty out of place here.
Yo! Akutsu! What are you fools doing in town? Hey! Don't ignore me! It's Kaito! Fancy seeing you here!
I'm kinda busy here, man. Catch you later.
What an asshole. Ichincho's a long way from home. And he's traveling with a small army.
Would he have come all this way because of us?
Nah, we just caught him totally off guard. He's not out here for us. Gotta be something else.
But something's not right if they're just cruising around. It's gotta be an RK operation. He brought too many guys for it to be something more personal.
Yeah. Kamurocho streets can be tough. Maybe they gave up. Well, whatever they came out here to do, we ought to keep our noses the hell out of their business. But you better hustle. You're gonna be late for class. I'll catch you after school.
Oh, what is it, Yagami-san?
Sensei, do you have a minute?
I saw the video of Mikoshiba-kun.
So you did. That video, right?
I thought Ehara-san was convicted for a sex offense. How could he be in that video killing Mikoshiba-kun? But then that video looked so real.
Most likely it is. As you unfortunately had to witness, Ehara-san committed murder with his own two hands. Which means as far as the groping that day goes, there's some deception at work.
Deception?
Are you familiar with Ehara-san's victim in the case? Her name is Yui Mamiya.
I don't think I recognized her, no.
13 years ago, she attended Kurakawa Academy. Her maiden name is Yui Suzuki.
Yui Suzuki? Just a minute. Are you saying she was the one Ehara-san groped?
So you do know her then? Were you two classmates?
We were, in our third year of high school.
I had a hunch. You didn't know she was the victim of that whole incident?
I mean, it's just so hard to believe.
Does this all seem like a wild coincidence to you then? Your old student's father gropes one of your high school classmates at a station with 3 million daily travelers.
What are you implying?
I'm saying your old friend Yui might be cooperating with Ehara-san, as in she only played the part of a victim. She might have even known it was all to hide a murder.
What? But why? Why would she do that for him?
From where I'm sitting, Sensei, you're connected to Ehara and Yui Mamiya. I just need your help figuring out what that connection is.
Yagami-san, please. Are you implying I was some kind of liaison between them?
Well, Sensei, what was your relationship with Yui Mamiya? Were you close? Or would you say classmates covers it?
The two of us were never really that close. To be honest, I didn't really like the group of kids she hung out with. I guess you could say we didn't have the same interests.
When was the last time you saw her? Did you have a high school reunion by any chance?
They held a reunion around the time I graduated from college, but I didn't feel like going. That same class bullied a kid into jumping off the roof.
So if that's the case, you haven't seen any of your classmates since you all graduated from Kurakawa?
That's right.
Okay then. The thing is, Ehara-san and Mamiya are connected. It is kinda loose, but it's there. They have one thing in common.
What?
In both of their pasts, someone they knew was bullied to the point of attempting or committing suicide. Ehara-san lost his son, Toshiro-kun, and as for Yui Mamiya, it's her classmate, Mitsuru Kusamoto. That could be a factor, especially for Mamiya. It's possible that Ahara-san would be a sympathetic figure to her. Maybe enough to help construct an alibi for his revenge. It's possible she only played the part of a groping victim. What do you think? Does it have any merit, or is my theory full of holes?
Even if you're on the right track...
Sawa-sensei? We're just waiting on you to start the staff meeting.
Sorry, I'll be right there.
What happened 13 years ago at Kurakawa? That might be the last piece of the puzzle. What about Yui Mamiya? How'd she react when Mitsuru Kusamoto tried to kill himself by jumping off that roof?
I'm sorry. I'm already late for my meeting.
I'm trying to ask you about a murder here. To Ahara, every unanswered question is a victory for that man. He's only a step away from walking for it. And I know Mamiya had other conspirators. It took more than one person to murder Mikoshiba. They're still at large, even as we speak. I'll be honest. I came here today with the suspicion that you might be more involved in this murder than you're letting on.
A suspicion?
Nothing you've said has made me feel any better about it.
And what should I do about that, huh?
I just want you to tell me, how are Ahara-san and Mamiya connected beyond what I've already figured out? I think you have the key to that answer, even if you don't know that you're the one holding it. It's like a lock, and until I figure out how to get through it, I'm gonna keep picking at it.
I told you, I'm late for a meeting.
I'll be here when you get back. Have a good meeting.
Suit yourself.